Bismillah wa salawatu wa salamu ala rasulullah. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today I'm going to be covering a video by Hassan. This will just be sort of an intro, new sort of format, a new sort of topic, a very big history focus from now on. This may be a little unorganized, and I apologize for that. And I'll definitely streamline in the future, but this is just a good intro video, I guess.
There is a level of moral relativity that is just pure observable reality. Attitudes and morality shifts throughout time, and unfortunately, in this current era, attitudes in Islam, like most Islam-oriented countries, towards offering civil liberties to homosexuals or even women in some respects, not great. Okay, this doesn't mean that this is something inherent to Islam. This doesn't mean that this is a Muslim problem. This is not rooted within race. This is not rooted within culture. These are attitudes.
When it comes to the topic of homosexuals, I'll grant you that the Muslim world doesn't grant much civil liberties to them due to the religion harshly condemning homosexual intercourse. However, generally, women in Muslim countries do have equal rights, unless we're talking about Afghanistan, which limits women from getting education currently, which is something that's completely against Islam as a whole, which I might add.
Attitudes that shift throughout time that readjust to I mean, not to go back to the same fucking Marxist dead horse, but readjust to material conditions and manifest themselves by through leaders who are utilizing things like ideology, or at least religion in this instance, to gain mass popularity, oftentimes backed by the United States itself. If you look at Islamic culture, which is not even a monolith, but if you look at Muslim nations in the 50s and 60s, and this is Turkey as well as Iran and Egypt, they are much more modern.
Turkish and Egyptian attitudes to secularism have actually increased to how they were in the 50s and 60s. As a matter of fact, secularism was increased in Egypt since Morsi was overthrown and Sisi was placed in power. According to a study done in 2017 by The Economist, which you can see over here. Crap, it's not giving me the actual link. It's right around here, though. I'll just link the Wikipedia page and you can check it for yourself. But according to that study, secularism actually increased among youth in the nation, and they're much more open to secularism and very, very low support of Sharia nowadays, actually.
Much more Western focused and much more liberal. Unfortunately, through destabilization and destruction and puppet leaderships installed, backed by the United States in the case of Iran.
In the case of Iran, after the Americans and British overthrew Mossadegh, busy nationalized Iran's oil, they actually did contrary to what Hassan proposes. They installed the Shah, who espoused secularism and their Zoroastrian Persian past, which is the religion of the Persian Empire followed before the Islamic conquest of the region. However, most Iranian citizens didn't see the fruits of these reforms because they lived in terrible states of poverty, while he had $600 million birthday parties. So all those pics you see of, well, before the Islamic Revolution were exclusive for the top 1% of the nation. And the Islamic Revolution in 1979 was anything but backed by America, as demonstrated by the Iranian hostage crisis.
And even in some instances in the case of Egypt now, that attitude has changed completely. But you know what? On the other hand, Iran tried to nationalize its oil fields and no longer have a shit deal with the British government. So, you know, destroying a very progressive, a very liberal Muslim nation by just completely wiping out their administrative faculties and reinstalling a religious puppet. But you tried to fucking nationalize your extraction industries. And guess what? We're not going to allow that in the United States, okay? We're not going to fucking stand for that. So, sucks to suck. Fuck you, Iran, right? But you're never going to hear this kind of analysis from someone like Sam Harris because it doesn't correspond to his internalized, like his internal bigotries towards Islam. His only perspective here is to vilify Islam as best as possible. And if you want to effectively vilify Islam, you can't actually analyze the roots to try to figure out why this exploited, barbaric interpretation of Islam is so prevalent in Muslim countries and Muslim cultures now, when it wasn't the case, you know, half a century ago. When it certainly wasn't the case when Islam, going through its golden age, was the leader in the world with the preservation of culture.
Islam was a leader in science. When Islam was a leader in science, they're arguably much more fundamentalist adherent to Sharia law than they are nowadays. As a matter of fact, the actual reason for the decline of the Muslim world can be traced to Ottoman Empire having a near monopoly over the Middle East and North Africa. So when the nobles were opposed to advancement, or the printing press, for instance, the entire Middle East suffered as a result. This isn't to say there weren't efforts to modernize, but these were foiled in the case of Muhammad Ali Pasha being thwarted by the European powers when he tried to overthrow the Ottoman Empire and modernize it. And if anything, ISIS is the exact opposite of like conservative Islam.
And texts, the advances that Islamic nations made in the field of medicine, in the field of art, even in the field of arithmetic, like these are in the field of math, yeah. So, again, These are very complicated. These are very complicated things. And in order to simplify them, either you're going to just turn around and vilify an entire fucking region or an entire culture or an entire race of people, or you're just you're just gonna have to actually fucking analyze the deep rooted problems within foreign intervention and Western imperialism and also conservatism, really. Because what's really frustrating to me is that whenever we talk about ISIS or whenever we talk about like the stereotypical
Now, as I said before, ISIS is the exact opposite of conservative Islam, as almost every single conservative Islamic scholar or preacher has fundamentally denounced them and their entire ideology. I said the reason for terrorism in the Middle East is more so a reaction to Western intervention in the region than actual fundamentalism. Most of the recruits to these groups are young men who subscribe to dangerous ideologies to fight back against such oppression because it makes them feel empowered again. I'm not supporting them in any way. I'm just saying this is a general reason and a general motivation for these groups.
big bearded Muslim man, that is a conservative Muslim. But because we don't have a better understanding of Islam and we don't have a better understanding of Muslims in general or Muslim culture, you assume that Islam is monolithic. No, you don't hate Islam. You hate conservatives. You hate conservative Muslims. I am a progressive Muslim. Do I strike you as someone more?
You can't really be a progressive or conservative Muslim. It's either you adhere to the beliefs of Islam or not. This binary that we find nowadays in the I guess the late 20th, not even late 21st century, it's just the early 21st century of, oh, you're either progressive or you're conservative. This wasn't a thing back then. It's either you agreed to Islam or you didn't. And, yeah.
Do you think that you have more in common with someone like myself than you do with an evangelical Christian fundamentalist? I don't think so, right? Again, when Muslims hurt other Muslims, or when Muslims throw gay people off roofs in Baghdad or whatever, those other gay people are also Muslim. It's so weird.
Islam is fundamentally against homosexual intercourse. I'd say most of those gay people aren't actually Muslim, but let's go on.
That progressive Muslims get God, both in their own countries for the battles that they're fighting against conservatism, that is cancerous, just like it's cancerous here in America. But then they also have to fight another additional battle where they have to side with the conservative Muslims against foreign intervention, against Western cultural supremacy, against Western attitudes that just.
Like you're trying to promote Western cultural supremacy by trying to advocate for gay rights in these regions when in reality people living there and their culture are fundamentally against this. And they shouldn't be forced to accept our perception of, actually your perception of morality. That's what I like to call cultural imperialism.
Vilify them all as a monolith. This is why I have no problem with people calling me Muslim or whatever. I say this to my Turkish friends. I'm a proud agnostic in Turkey, and I'm a proud Muslim in America.
If anything, I'd argue that Turkey and the West Coast are much more liberal and secular than parts of America, but that's really just my experience. Anyways, this is the most organized or well-thought video, and I don't really have anything against Hassan. I just disagree with him on a lot of things. But, like, please don't attack him or, like, I don't know, just insult him and be, like, rude to him, because that just makes us look worse. Anyways, this wasn't the greatest video. I admit that. It's kind of rushed. But I thought it'd be a nice intro type video for the type of videos I would do from now on. A bit different from reputation videos I used to do, a more of a calculated response to misconceptions people have. And it's more so focused on the ideas than the actual people themselves. Alright, so for